is there a difference between a person's possible contentment if, for example, they spend a lot of time in a busy city rather than what your experience in remote Himalayan mountain?
Well, the conditions of life, they are not absolute determinants, but they certainly keep on the input, sensory input, the life experience input, the emotional interaction, interpersonal input keeps on coming. And if those are of a way that is somehow setting you off balance. If say you are in an environment where only greed matters, or an environment where only violence matters, in a situation of conflict, or war, or aggressivity, or genocide. So when one of those what we call mental toxins that really undermine your happiness, like basically animosity or hatred, craving or arrogance or jealousy, if it keeps on being inputted because of the outer circumstances, then you sort of there's a contagion, and if you don't function like that, then there's a kind of it's constantly some kind of, I would say, aggression, but it constantly goes against what you would like to be. So it's kind of possible that to a lesser level, a place in our time where maximum scattering activities, distractions, and I was in Times Square once in New York with a Tibetan friend of mine, and he was looking at all those flashing things, advertisements. He said, they are trying to steal my mind, he said. So there's a lot of that happening. So it can be certainly destabilizing in terms of finding some balance. So that's why this beautiful sky. Imagine we're just sitting there in nature environment, and you want to cultivate, say, attention, loving kindness. It's easier. Now, ideally, if you have a real inner strength, then you can keep that anywhere, anytime. But that's not. You don't have to be necessarily all the time in this busy condition. But if you are, then you're still okay. But when you begin, especially, it's important to have those quiet moments, like an athlete that will quietly go in a stadium early morning and train, and not just be distracted by something else. Otherwise, you are too weak to become strong. You would like to get this emotional balance, but there's so much already chaos happening upon you that you don't have even the chance to build up emotional strength, because it's constantly, like in a washing machine. So that's the reason why you need at some point to take the time to get the strength so that you can function better. Like you learn sailing. You're not going to learn sailing the first day when there's a big storm. You learn when there's nice fine weather and little breeze. And then when you start being comfortable with the sails, then you can go a little bit stronger wind. And then when you're really a good sailor, you can go around the world, and sometimes it will be a big storm, or sometimes not. But you know that you can get through most of the time.
How much would you say altruism makes up your general perception of being happy?
I don't want to just speak about myself, but I think in general, I think it's a fundamental factor. The reason is that if you take the opposite, exacerbated feeling of self-centeredness and self-importance, I really convinced it makes your life miserable. Because the me from morning till evening is an enhanced sort of hypersensitivity to everything that might cause a little bit of unpleasure, a little bit of pleasure. You're so concerned about your feelings, about yourself, and then so vulnerable, because the world is not going to behave just to fulfill those kind of wishes. It's not a mail order catalog for your fancies. It doesn't work. So then you make your life miserable, and of course you are sort of a pain for everyone because you're just concerned about yourself. So it's a loser situation. So I'm convinced that a kind mind, a benevolent mind, first is a much more balanced and sort of, a happy way of being. And then, of course, if that's genuine, then you will be perceived by others as a nice person you like to be with. As the Dalai Lama says, if you are very angry and very selfish, even your dog will run away. Forget about human beings. But they don't want to be with someone who's always angry, shouting and doing unpredictable things and sometimes kicking and all that. So that's natural. When you feel like to be with people who are sort of kind and open, and it's good to be with, and so it feels good for yourself. So it's a win-win situation.